Hi, this is Stephen from Own or Disown. In this video I will be comparing the ever popular ACER Helios 300 against the Asus TUF A15. I reviewed both models and I must say that you can't go wrong with either of them. Both of my units had the GTX 1660 Ti and both can be configured up to an RTX 2060. The big difference is the CPU with the Helios 300 having the 9th gen 6-core 9750H, whilst the TUF A15 has the new Ryzen 7 4800H, which is an 8-core 16-thread 45-watt chip. Asus will also offer a 6-core Ryzen 5 4600H model as well. The other big difference is the RAM speed, the Helios having DDR4 2666 MHz versus the TUF A15's faster 3200 MHz. It is a well-known fact that Ryzen does need faster RAM, and this certainly seems to help compared to the last gen TUF model. Now both are available in a 17-inch form factor. Over at Amazon, the TUF A15 with a 4800H 1660 Ti and larger 90Wh battery can be had for only $999. I think this is an awesome deal. On the face of it, one would think they have similar screens. They both have a refresh rate of 144Hz, they both have a resolution of 1080p, and both have good viewing angles. However, the Helios 300 has a 3 millisecond response time, whilst the TUF A15 certainly is slower, as you can see in this ghosting test. I must point out though that I was not able to notice it in game, but some people have commented about it. One big benefit the TUF A15 has is adaptive sync, so you get no screen tearing in game. The Helios 300 would have to rely on VSync and the input lag that brings. The Helios screen is definitely more vibrant and brighter, 315 nits and 94% of sRGB versus 274 nits and only 62% of sRGB on the TUF A15. The only negative on the Helios was the screen has quite a bit of backlight bleed. In terms of design and build quality, the Helios does feel a bit more premium by nature of its aluminium keyboard deck, but the TUF A15 is military standard 810H certified against vibrations, knocks, humidity and temperature, so it should be more durable than the Helios. Indeed, I thought the plastic keyboard deck looked quite resilient and the aluminium lid was easy to keep clean. Both show they are gaming laptops, so they're not going to win any subtlety awards. The back panels on both are made of plastic and easy to get into. The Helios has a 59Wh battery and lasted about 5 hours, and my A15 had a 48Wh battery and that lasted about the same. Both have a 2.5-inch bay for a hard drive. Now the A15 does have an optional 90Wh battery model that takes up this space, leaving you with two M.2 slots. It is a shame this isn't an option for the Helios 300, but at least it too has two M.2 slots. So both have plenty of storage options. The TUF A15 does have an extra heat pipe for the GPU, but only has 3 heatsinks versus the 4 on the Helios. As you will soon see, the 8-core 4800H is quite power efficient, no doubt because of its smaller 7nm process, and one heatsink copes just fine. But this may well help in its lighter weight of 4 pounds 12 ounces versus 5 pounds 1 ounce for the Helios. Now both systems do have a turbo mode. On the Asus TUF A15 this increases the watts on the CPU from 35 to 45 during CPU work, and in gaming it does add typically an extra 5 to 8 watts to the CPU, but it still maxes out at 35 watts. On the Helios 300 turbo mode increases the CPU from 45 to 55 watts, and it also boosts up the GPU by about 100 MHz. As for fan noise, the change to turbo mode on the Asus TUF 15 doesn't increase fan noise all that much, and 48 decibels was pretty quiet really. The Helios on the load with auto fan was quieter at 42 decibels, but activate turbo mode, expect a noisy 54 decibels. The 720p webcams on both systems are up top and they look okay for casual use. As for chassis temperatures, I thought they both did a good job insulating you from the heat while playing games. And as for the speakers, they were definitely louder on the Helios 300. Now on to performance. Since the 9750H is a 6-core CPU, it comes as no surprise that it gets totally owned by the 8-core 4800H in CPU work. The Intel CPU can be undervolted, so I do show that result, but still, in Cinebench R20 it gets beat by 42%, and in a handbrake encode it is 33% behind. But most people are probably more interested in how they game. So I use turbo mode for all the footage and benchmarks. Here is Battlefield 5 DX11 Ultra settings with the Asus TUF A15 at the top and the Helios 300 at the bottom. You do see that the Helios generally has a higher boost clock on the GTX 1660 Ti, and since the CPU is using more power, the 9750H also tends to hold a higher clock too. But as you can see here, the TUF A15 in orange does tend to hold an advantage over the Helios in blue. I also show the minimum frame rates, and they too are consistently higher. I suspect this is because Battlefield 5 makes quite good use of more cores, so the 4800H does help out here. Now I show Far Cry 5 using Ultra settings with the TUF A15 at the top. The 4800H is definitely cooler, no doubt due to the lower power consumption of 26 watts versus over 50 watts on the 9750H. And I think this is key. If the game is multi-threaded, the CPU utilization will be less. Less power is needed, and perhaps the need for undervolting or super loud fans may actually not be necessary. In terms of frame rate though, the Helios 300 has the edge, and indeed across average and minimum frame rates are better by about 5%. In Overwatch using Epic settings, again we see a quite large CPU power difference between the two systems. The 4800H is actually holding over 4 GHz. The 1660 Ti on the Helios 300 is boosting higher with its turbo mode, but I wouldn't say there's actually a huge difference in frame rate. And measuring the frame rate during a multiplayer game, you see that the performance is similar indeed. Perhaps we start to see the Helios gaining the upper hand as we lower quality settings. Here is Shadow of the Tomb Raider, higher settings with the A15 on the top. And I must say, I am impressed with the 4800H CPU. It's holding above 4 GHz again, and here with only using 33 watts. If only Asus had also boosted the 1660 Ti in turbo mode like the ACER has done. At higher quality settings, we see that the Asus TUF A15 holds the advantage, but as we lower those settings and the CPU becomes more of a factor, then it looks like the 9750H Helios 300 does better. So that's it. Hope you found this useful, and there's no doubt that the Asus TUF A15 or the A17 is a powerhouse. The 4800H powers through anything that is thrown at it, and it stays relatively cool. And certainly compared to its predecessor with the 3750H, it is night and day. And if you like, I could compare those two systems. In gaming, both systems tended to trade blows, but I did feel that there was a general trend in favour of the Helios 300 as we lowered quality settings. But for sure, there is no need for an 8-core CPU for gaming at this time. But, games are becoming more threaded. And also people are now wanting to record or stream gameplay at the same time, which all puts a burden on the system, so more cores can be more useful. There's no getting around it. The new TUF series is an exceptional value right now, and shame on Nvidia on only allowing AMD laptops maxed out with an RTX 2060. Thank you for watching, like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.